Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, you've had a good weekend so far. Hopefully, you are able to decompress and relax a little bit, maybe get ready for the following week, do whatever it is you need to do. But this morning, I wanted to talk about the conditioning of yourself to perform risk assessment and be aware of your situation, your situational awareness, wherever it is you may be or go or plan to go. With the stupidity starting up again with regard to the protests and this and that regarding the ruling that came down, which has been totally misconstrued and gaslit for the other side to be able to squeeze every drop of craziness out of the decision to disrupt and divide, if you will, we the people. And there's too many crazies out there anyway on a normal basis, but now you're going to start seeing the emboldened out there and being cheered on and etc. And of course, you've got these professional agitators that will also intermingle with them and lead and or cheer them on, to get the most bang for the buck, if you will. So expect chaos, wherever and whenever you go somewhere, and it could be anywhere in the country. And I've done videos on this before. A lot of other people have done videos on this before, and to me, it's just a training of your mind and your intuition, if you will. You've got to sort of come to the realization that people just are crazy and people just do crazy things. And the last thing you want to do is be in a position where you're caught out vulnerable and unprepared to deal with a situation. And I'm not necessarily talking about physical confrontation, but you need to have a plan and a expectation that you may have to evacuate from a place that you are or maybe are going to. And that comes with evacuation routes, knowing the terrain, knowing the people, knowing the road construction, etc. You just have to train yourself to do a little bit more due diligence and research whenever you're going out, especially if you're going to a place that's unfamiliar to you. And with the rate of protests that are going on in these bigger urban areas, you need to be prepared to assess the situation quickly and carefully, but also be deliberate enough to be able to understand that if you're in a vehicle, you're in a pretty good, solid, protective sphere there, right? And the last thing you should ever do, honestly, unless it's a very dire situation, the last thing you really ever need to do is get out of your vehicle and confront somebody. Now, I'm not telling you to lay there and be a victim either, but if it's things being thrown or whatever, there's a couple of schools of thought there. One is you can sit there and ride it out. You can try to evacuate the area in your vehicle, and you know what? Sometimes you just have to make hard decisions. And if that's the case, and your life is in danger, you do what you got to do, right? But that brings me to another point, and members of law enforcement are typically trained in this, but there's a couple of different things I want to communicate to you. And one is not, especially at a stop, at a intersection, or traffic, bumper to bumper traffic, if you will, congestion. try to always leave yourself at least one car length between you and the vehicle in front of you. That allows you to make a move either side, if you need to, or just give yourself a little breathing room to make a decision. If you're bumper to bumper, you might get boxed in, and sometimes, you're just where you're going to be. So leave yourself an out, I guess, is the important part. And then another part is to, check your mirrors, right? 360. You want to have 360-degree awareness around you. And you really, when you're driving, you should be doing this all the time. As you're driving, as you're in traffic, if you're parked, you should be checking your mirrors all the time. About every, 8 to 10 seconds, you should be checking your mirrors. And that's just, again, being aware of the situation and what's going on around you. Another thing with these heavy-handed, pew-pew bills coming out, their increase of the increase of snitching and or red flag complaints is likely to increase, and people will use that as a weapon, probably because there's not going to be any. It sounds to me like there's not going to be any penalties for falsifying those types of things. And so that it will be weaponized, and that's my biggest problem with it. There's really no. It seems like there's really no penalty for lying about something like that, which is a problem for me, because there's a lot of people that you could talk about exes and whatever, but just a lot of evil, mean people out there that will say anything to hurt somebody else. So again, something else to think about. So with that, and the increased in law enforcement, possibly heavy-handedness with regard to the 2A, just be aware of, again, your surroundings, your six. There's something to be said for, being able to spot counter surveillance or doing counter surveillance, if you will. If you're being followed, you need to know. You should know. And if you practice and pay attention, and again, it's not to be paranoid, but to be cautious and understand what's going on around you. Being able to spot surveillance or conduct counter surveillance is huge. And if you don't know what those words mean, just go look them up. But a lot of us are trained in from that particular profession. We're trained in spotting counters, and surveillance on us, and performing counter surveillance, if you will. So, in other words, being able to know if somebody's surveilling you or following you. And especially, it goes also in hand with all these follow home robberies that's going on. Again, don't be paranoid, but be enabled and empowered to know if you're being followed, right? I mean, it's just a good way to operate. And it does take some discipline and some training of yourself, and probably some reading, and things like that. So, do your research. There's a lot of good articles out there and such. I'm not going to be the purveyor of all that information, but if you want to learn about counter surveillance or, surveillance, those are professional terms, go look them up. There's a lot of good information out there from reliable sources. And I would encourage you, while we're on the subject of reliable sources, when you're watching these channels and stuff, be aware that some of these folks aren't really credible. There's a lot of credible people out there, but some people aren't very credible at all. They're just out there running their mouth about something they heard about or maybe read something about. But I think when you want to absorb good information and retain it, I think that you want to be able to get those from credible sources, if you will. In other words, people with skin in the game that have a background in a certain area, right? So do your research, but make sure you're getting credible information. It's always important that you are sure that you're doing that. But anyway, I wanted to give some quick channel shout outs. Looking to, help these people get a little bit more traffic to their channels. Zombie Prepper, Roaming Prepper, East Tennessee Preparedness, Survival Buzz, Triple Threat Firearms and Defense, and Hill Country Prepper. Those are some channels I think you should check out. I gave some yesterday too. You know, these aren't the be-all end-all, and there is certainly a lot more channels than this, but these are some channels that you know, I've been watching for a little while, and some are newer, some are older, but you know, good stuff to watch and get a different perspective, if you will. Some of the stuff that we, you know, talk about on a daily basis are covered on these channels, and sometimes they do different areas, you know, topics on different areas, but it's a good mix, if you will. So I suggest that people jump around a little bit. Again, make sure that you're looking at credible information and believable stuff, and again, that it's coming from people that have skin in the game and know what they're talking about. So you know, I typically am not going to promote a channel through my channel that is not credible, or at least that I've checked out and you know, agree with somewhat. Don't have to agree 100% on what everybody does, but again, I just want to make sure that I'm passing on good information, and I'm sure that you all want the same too. So I would encourage everybody to keep you know, keep doing the things, keep stacking the food, fuel, water, meds, lead, and you know, even the little construction materials like screws, nails, nuts, bolts, tape, adhesives, you know, window sealant, things like that, things that, you know, you may need down the road, you know, plastic sheeting, things like that, tarps, etc. So with that, everybody have a great week coming up. Keep prepping, stack it deep, and always remember, long live the Republic. Y'all take care now.